Well, you're here with Rand Simberg. Thank you very much for joining us today. So you have a new book out, and can you tell us a little bit about what that book is about and your motivations for writing it?
Well, it's about what I call our irrational approach to safety in human spaceflight, which we've been indulging in since the end of Apollo, really. And I'm concerned about this because it's holding us back from making any progress in space and really expanding humanity into space. If we treated spaceflight, or if we treated aviation the way we treated spaceflight, we wouldn't have an aviation industry. In fact, if we treated, go back all the way to when we were still in the trees, if we'd been so afraid to go out on that savannah, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have computers. We wouldn't have spaceships. We wouldn't have airplanes. We wouldn't have any of this stuff. We'd be still sitting in those trees wondering what that savannah had in for us. So I'm trying to get us to think a little bit more rationally about spaceflight, and the reason we aren't rational about it is because of the history of it, and how we got to where we were with the Apollo and then the shuttle, and ultimately what it comes down to is after Apollo, space was no longer important. It was important during Apollo because we had to beat the Soviet Union, but after that it just became a jobs program, and they were just it was kind of going along on the inertia and the past glory, but because it wasn't important. Consider Columbia. Everybody's so upset when we lost Columbia, because what were they doing up there? They were doing kids' science fair experiments. That was the perception of everybody, right? So we just lost 7 people doing kids' science fair experiments. We can't let that happen again. If they'd been out there, if they'd been on their way to Mars, if they'd been out there trying to stop an asteroid from hitting the planet, I don't think people would have been so upset if we lost 7 people. That was important.
How did we get to this point?
Well, as I say, we got to this point because we don't perceive, the nation does not perceive, certainly the Congress does not perceive space to be really important. They pretend it does. They always keep passing their big bills to build their big rockets, because they say you can't have a space program without a big rocket. But the funny thing, we keep on building big rockets. We keep not, we're not sending people into space right now. And they have, if you look at what their programmatic plans, there's no way they're going to get people into space, really, probably before, 20-something. And they're not spending the money on the stuff they could be spending it on if they were really serious about, because we've got ways of getting people into space now. Could use existing rockets. But that's all about the jobs, really. They're just about preserving jobs, and all this talk about how preserving human spaceflight is just it's talk. So it makes perfect sense for them to say safety is the highest priority. Like Shaka Fatah, I think it was right after the penultimate shuttle flight, the second to last one. The Shaka Fatah was from Pennsylvania, congressman. He's their ranking, or actually that time, I guess he was ranking member on the House Space Committee. He congratulated the NASA administrator for making safety his highest priority. Think about that. What does that mean? That's crazy. If safety is your highest priority, it means everything else is less priority. It means it's not really important. The only important thing is to not kill anybody.
Well, with the advent of commercial spaceflight and this kind of renaissance of NewSpace, with the FAA getting involved and having to certify, for test flights and for future human certification, where do you think that their role, their role should be with commercial and for government projects, as well as where the line is kind of drawn of where their responsibility ends for different missions?
Well, first of all, just to correct, they're not doing certification. Certification is a specific word with a specific meaning. They do that for airplanes. They're not doing it for space vehicles. All they're doing is issuing launch licenses. And what a launch license says that, okay, we, the FAA, think that if you fly this thing, you're not going to crash into another country or kill somebody on the ground who's some uninvolved person on the ground, or smash an endangered species or something. But those are all the things that we have to worry about as the FAA. What we do not have to worry about as the FAA, and we have no no statutory authority to do so, is to worry about whether or not you kill your passengers. Any more than we, the FAA, when we license a satellite launch. It's not our job to make sure that the satellite gets into orbit. As long as it doesn't land on some diplomat's head, not our problem. That's your insurance company's problem. And it should be exactly the same way with passengers. You know, there will be people insuring, providing. They'll probably be like it used to be at the airport. You could buy a life insurance policy before you got on a plane, right? So it'll probably be the same thing. Maybe they'll have part of the deal here might be you can have a special life insurance policy, which probably your current policy will exclude going on rides and rockets, right? I mean, the same thing like with general aviation. You know, standard life insurance policy won't cover you as a private pilot if you die in your airplane. So you have to get riders and pay more for them. I imagine it'll be exactly the same thing, but it's going to be the insurance industry that tells these people how safe they have to be, not the FAA.